Welcome to Present, Giving an Effective Presentation, brought to you by the EWU Writers Center. For many people, giving a presentation can be a very stressful event. However, if you know the skills you need to develop and the things you need to concentrate on, you can turn that presentation from a stressful experience into a successful one. When you're giving a presentation, you need to know what to see, to say, and to do. So we'll start in the C category. You want to make sure that you have an opportunity to see the place that you will be presenting, if possible. If not, choose a location as close to it as you can. Touch all the buttons, get used to the audiovisual equipment, walk from side to side in the room. All these things will make sure that you're comfortable in the space so when it comes to presentation day, you know what's going on. The second point is to make sure that you are dressed for the way you want others to see you. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need to suit up, but it does mean that you need to be dressed professionally, but also in clothing that you are comfortable in, so that that comfort is projected out to your presentation and to your audience. Lastly, you need to make sure that you know what you're doing, so make sure you practice your presentation out loud, not just in your head. You also want to practice it with gestures and movement. So again, walking around the space, knowing where you need to hold your hand to make a point on the screen. That will all come together to make a presentation that looks polished and professional. You also want to give yourself an opportunity to write down prompts, even if you don't bring these cards into the actual presentation, but writing down prompts and reminders for each slide or each part of your visual will help you feel confident that you're not going to forget anything come presentation day. Next, we're going to concentrate on what you actually say during your presentation. Many people are concerned that they need to avoid saying or like or hesitating, and being focused on those concerns can distract them from actually giving a good presentation. So we're going to focus on things that will make your presentation successful. First, you need to know what you're going to do during the presentation. A good way to start your presentation is always by thanking the audience. They took their time to be there, so you want to make sure you acknowledge that and thank them for it. Speaking of your audience, you also want to make sure that your presentation is targeted at them. If you use humor, make sure that it's going to resonate with your audience. Also, think about what information they're going to find the most relevant and what they're coming there to get out of your presentation, and speak to that. Instead of saving the best for last, in a presentation you always want to lead with your strongest information, your best point, your strongest argument first. This will ensure that your audience is engaged and that your presentation is going to start with the high point and continue from there. Lastly, you want to make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to have a strong and definite finish. So this means closing with a slide that asks if the audience has any questions, or possibly with your bibliography, or with opportunities for future resources, or pardon me, opportunities for future research, or places where they can go for additional resources. All these things indicate a definitive end, and so you're not standing there up front in front of an audience is not sure if you're done and whether they should start clapping. Now that you know what to do, we want to know what to avoid. Don't apologize. If you stumble, if you make a mistake, don't focus on it because that draws the audience's attention. Instead, regroup and move forward. Also, don't make excuses. It doesn't matter if you're exhausted or if you're terrified of public speaking. By commenting on it, you're going to draw the audience's attention to it. You also want to make sure you don't feel like you're alone up there. You're in a room with a group full of people. So one of the best things to do is pick a few points around the room or a few people that you can make eye contact with over the course of your presentation. It makes your audience feel like you're interacting with them as individuals and keeps them engaged. And lastly, don't forget to breathe. A great way to start your presentation is by standing in the front, taking a deep breath, letting it out, and then beginning. And remembering in the middle of transitions in your presentation to stop, breathe, and count to 3 in your head. This will ensure that your presentation is well paced and that you don't get the jitters, and so you're not projecting that anxious energy into your presentation. Now that you know what to say, we're going to talk about what you need to do. These are the physical things actions that you will do during your presentation. First, make sure you're smiling. You want to start by deliberately putting a smile on your face. It will actually physically calm you, which is a good place to be when you're starting a presentation. Also, many people have this idea that they have to keep their hands still during a presentation, and this is actually categorically untrue. Instead, using gestures can enhance your ethos. It makes the audience feel like you are more honest and more confident, and therefore makes them more engaged and likely to listen to you. So use gestures if they're natural to you. And lastly, make sure you're talking with the audience, not to them. If you want to avoid the "I just don't care" attitude from your audience, you want to make sure that you're modeling your presentation on the idea of a conversation as much as possible. Again, this goes along with the don't go it alone principle. You want to make eye contact, use rhetorical questions possibly, or opportunities for the audience to give you feedback during the presentation, and other devices in order to make that audience engaged and to make the presentation as interactive as possible, as if you were actually having a conversation with somebody. This concludes our presentation on giving an effective presentation. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Don't hesitate to look around the EW Writer Center website for other videos that will help address all of your writing needs. Thank you for watching.